Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavividitam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Janaha. Page 106. So this is the meeting with Vidyasagar continued. Page 106. To Vidyasagar with a smile. Well, what is your attitude? So before this, Ramakrishna had said, can one know God through reasoning? Be his servant, surrender yourself to him, and then pray to him. To Vidyasagar with a smile. Well, what is your attitude? Vidyasagar, smiling. Someday I shall confide it to you. All laugh. Master, laughing. God cannot be realized through mere scholarly reasoning. Intoxicated with divine love, the master sang, who is there that can understand what Mother Kali is? Even the 6 darshanas are powerless to reveal her. It is she, the scriptures say, that is the inner self of the yogi, who in self discovers all his joy. She that of her own sweet will inhabits every living thing. The macrocosm and the microcosm rest in the mother's womb. Now do you see how vast it is? In the Muladhara, the yogi meditates on her, and in Sahasrara, who but Shiva has beheld her as she really is? Within the lotus wilderness, she sports beside her mate, the swan. Footnote, the swan is Shiva, the absolute. When man aspires to understand her, Ram Prasad must smile. To think of knowing her, he says, is quite as laughable as to imagine one can swim across the boundless sea. But while my mind has understood, alas, my heart has not. Though but a dwarf, it would still strive to make a captive of the moon. Continuing, the master said, did you notice? The macrocosm and microcosm rest in the mother's womb. Now do you see how vast it is? Again, the poet says, even the 6 darshanas are powerless to reveal her. She cannot be realized by means of mere scholarship. Just remember who he's saying this to. It's a very pointed statement. He was one of the greatest scholars of his time, a noted social reformer, and agnostic about God. And M had pointed out, had asked him about his attitude, and he had told M that I think all the philosophers, they have not really been able to express what was in their heart, or they have not been able to express the truth. Here, Sri Ramakrishna is saying it cannot be expressed. Just because it cannot be expressed does not mean it does not exist. It is beyond comprehension. It is so vast. He points out again from the song, it is so vast, infinite, therefore we cannot bring it within the comprehension of reasoning, of ration, of our our logic, our philosophical reasoning. It's beyond that. You can make an attempt, and you can make a good attempt, but that's it. I will share another interesting story I just heard this afternoon, from very touching story. So the great Vaishnava teacher Vijay Krishna Goswami, Brahmo teacher Vijay Krishna Goswami, used to visit Sri Ramakrishna. So this is a story about Vijay Krishna Goswami, and this was told to me by the philosopher Arindam Chakravarti earlier today. So, and he had heard it as a kid. So the story goes like this. Vijay Krishna Goswami he joined the Brahmo Samaj, which was a reform movement in 19th century Bengal. Keshav Chandra Sen, even before that, Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So the idea was we must give up this kind of image worship, God with form. No, God is only without form, and nirakara but saguna, formless but with auspicious qualities, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, loving, just, all of that, but formless. So and when the Hindu says with form and without form, the Brahma would say no, only without form. We don't accept that with form and all this Krishna and the Kali, what was and always popular in Bengal. Mostly it's either Vaishnavas or Shaktas, worshippers of Divine Mother or worshippers of Krishna. And all of that forms we don't accept, and all of that. Though Vijay Krishna Goswami came from a staunch Vaishnava family, very old Vaishnava family. So the deity at home was Radha and Krishna. Now, he did not want to do that. He was studying in Calcutta. He was a young man at that time, Vijay Krishna Goswami. This was long before he met Sri Ramakrishna. But he was very devout. He joined the Brahmo Samaj, and he would go to their Brahmo Upasana, which is the worship ceremony there. Even now they hold it. So there is meditation, there is singing, there is reading, and it's all formless. There is no image, there is no picture, nothing. Now he had a dream, Vijay Krishna Goswami had a dream, recurrent dream, one night, second night, third night, that Krishna, the deity at their home, village home, Krishna is appearing in his dream and saying, would you make a gold crown for me? Small image. So make a gold crown for me and send it for me. And in the dream itself, he tells Krishna, I don't believe in these things. So again, the next night he has the dream. The third night he has the dream. Then he just got irritated. He went to a goldsmith's, a jeweler's shop in Calcutta, paid money, bought gold and had it fashioned into a small crown and sent it to the village home. Anyhow, a few days later, he is in the Brahmo Upasana, sitting down, singing a song to the formless God, and people around him all sitting and meditating. Suddenly, in the middle of that, he has a vision. When nobody else sees it, but he sees it. Krishna comes before him, and in the middle of that, and says to him, how do I look? Do I look nice with the new golden crown? So what a beautiful, the whole idea that it's not reasonable. We say, it's not reasonable. Why should God have a form? God has to be formless. That's more, our philosophical mind says that is more correct. This is lower or superstitious or what. This is far beyond our immature philosophical mind. With form, without form, the idea in Vedanta is both are appearances of the same reality. That which is without form is the same as that which is with form. Then he goes on. One must have faith and love. Let me tell you how powerful faith is. A man was about to cross the sea from Ceylon to India, which is Sri Lanka now. Vibhishana, who was the brother of Ravana and who became the king of Sri Lanka afterwards, or Ceylon afterwards. Vibhishana said to him, tie this thing in a corner of your wearing cloth and you will be able to cross the sea safely. You will be able to walk on the water. But be sure not to examine it or you will sink. The man was walking easily on the water of the sea. Such is the strength of faith. When having gone part of the way, he thought, what is this wonderful thing Vibhishana has given me that I can walk even on the water? He untied the knot and found only a leaf with the name of Rama written on it. Oh, just this, he thought, and immediately he sank. So it's like you receive the name of God from your guru in a mantra. And on the support of that, depending on that, you will walk across the ocean of samsara. Others will, some will sink, some will be swept away. They will be desperate in it, but you will walk across the ocean of samsara. But faith in that little thing, the mantra given by the guru, that faith is necessary. I still remember one of the disciples, I met very senior monk when I was a brahmachari in Belur Math. Sitting on a bench, I was sitting and listening to him. He was a disciple of Swami Nikhilananda ji. I've forgotten the name of that monk, old monk, long since passed away. He's talking to him sort of halfway, soliloquy, but I can also hear. When we got the mantra, that is from Swami Nikhilananda ji. Swami Nikhilananda ji was the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. When we got the mantra, he thought, oh, it's just this little thing. And then he's saying it, just this little thing, and then chuckling to himself. And again saying it, just that little thing, and then chuckling to himself. And then he says, all my life, I've discovered how great that little thing is, that little mantra. There is a popular saying that Hanuman jumped over the sea through his faith in Rama's name, but Rama himself had to build a bridge. If a man has faith in God, then he need not be afraid, though he may have committed sin, nay, the vilest sin. Even seems incredible, but Gita, Sri Krishna himself says that Kripram bhavati dharmatra apiched suduracharo api. Even if somebody has thinks that I have committed many sins, very soon that person will become a devout person and a holy person. Very soon, he says. It will not that will take time. Why? Why would you say that? What is this great thing? Samyak vyavasita hisa. He has decided rightly. This is an important thing. He has decided rightly. Once you decide God exists, God is my refuge, I will hold on to the mantra given by the Guru. This is the best decision you can take in life. Once you take this decision, everything else will come of its own accord. Things will flow. It's very important to take the decision quickly and start walking on the path. Then Sri Ramakrishna sang a song glorifying the power of faith. If only I can pass away repeating Durga's name, how canst thou then, O Blessed One, withhold from me deliverance, wretched though I may be? So it's a very beautiful song. So at the time of death, this is my only prayer, let me take the name of God and pass away. Then nobody can stop me from getting enlightenment, spiritual freedoms, moksha, salvation, whatever it is. Though whatever I am, wretched though I may be. The master continued, faith and devotion, one realizes God easily through devotion. He is grasped through ecstasy of love. With these words, the master sang again, how are you trying, O my mind, to know the nature of God? You are groping like a madman locked in a dark room. He is grasped through ecstatic love. How can you fathom him without it? Only through affirmation, never negation, can you know him. Neither through Veda nor Tantra nor the 6 darshanas. It is in love's elixir that only that he delights, O mind. He dwells in the body's inmost depths in everlasting joy. And for that love, the mighty yogis practice yoga from age to age. When love awakes, the Lord, like a magnet, draws to him the soul. He it is, says Ramaprasad, that I approach as mother. But must I give away the secret here in the marketplace? From the hints I have given, O mind, guess what that being is. It means all the Satchidananda Brahman, the absolute existence consciousness place, which is spoken about in the Upanishads, which you read about in all the Advaitic texts. That is my mother. That is the one I love and worship and who is most dear to me. While singing, the master went into samadhi. He was seated on the bench facing west, the palms of his hands joined together, his body erect and motionless. Everyone watched him expectantly. Vidyasagar too was speechless and could not take his eyes from the master. After a time, Sri Ramakrishna showed signs of regaining the normal state. He drew a deep breath and said with a smile, the means of realizing God are ecstasy of love and devotion. That is, one must love God. He who is Brahman is addressed as the mother. He it is, says Ram Prasad, that I approach as mother. But must I give away the secret here in this marketplace? From the hints I have given, O mind, guess what that being is. Ram Prasad asks the mind only to guess the nature of God. He wishes it to understand that what is called Brahman in the Vedas is addressed by him as mother. He who is attributeless also has attributes. He who is Brahman is also Shakti. When thought of as inactive, he is called Brahman. And when thought of as the creator, preserver, and destroyer, he is called the primordial energy, Kali. Brahman and Shakti are identical, like fire and its power to burn. When we talk of fire, we automatically mean also its power to burn. Again, the fire's power to burn implies the fire itself. If you accept the one, you must accept the other. Brahman alone is addressed as the mother. This is because a mother is an object of great love. One is able to realize God just through love. Ecstasy of feeling, devotion, love, and faith, these are the means. Listen to a song. As is a man's meditation, so is his feeling of love. As is a man's feeling of love, so is his gain. And faith is the root of all. If in the nectar lake of Mother Kali's feet, my mind remains immersed, of little use are worship, oblations, or sacrifice. What is needed is absorption in God, loving Him intensely. The nectar lake is the lake of immortality. A man sinking in it does not die, but becomes immortal. Some people believe that by thinking of God too much, the mind becomes deranged, but that is not true. God is the lake of nectar, an ocean of immortality. He is called the immortal in the Vedas. Sinking in it, one does not die, but verily transcends death. Of little use are worship, oblations, or sacrifice. If a man comes to love God, he need not trouble himself much about these activities. One needs a fan only as long as there is no breeze. The fan may be laid aside if the southern breeze blows. Then what need is there of a fan? To Vidyasagar, the activities that you are engaged in are good. It is very good if you can perform them in a selfless spirit, renouncing egotism, giving up the idea that you are the doer. Through such action, one develops love and devotion to God and ultimately realizes Him. The more you come to love God, the less you will be inclined to perform action. When the daughter-in-law is with child, her mother-in-law gives her less work to do. As time goes by, she is given less and less work. When the time of delivery nears, she is not allowed to do any work at all, lest it should hurt the child or cause some difficulty at the time of birth. By these philanthropic activities, you are really doing good to yourself. If you can do them disinterestedly, your mind will become pure and you will develop love of God. As soon as you have that love, you will realize Him. Man cannot really help the world. God alone does that. He who has created the sun and the moon, who has put love for their children in parents' hearts, endowed noble souls with compassion, and holy men and devotees with divine love. The man who works for others without any selfish motive really does good to himself. There is gold buried in your heart, but you are not yet aware of it. It is covered with a thin layer of clay. Once you are aware of it, all these activities of yours will lessen. After the birth of her child, the daughter-in-law in the family busies herself with it alone. Everything she does is only for the child. Her mother-in-law does not let her do any household duties. Go forward. A woodcutter once entered a forest to gather wood. A brahmachari said to him, "Go forward." He obeyed the injunction and discovered some sandalwood trees. After a few days, he reflected, "The holy man asked me to go forward. He didn't tell me to stop here." So he went forward and found a silver mine. After a few days, he went still further and discovered a gold mine, and next, mines of diamonds and precious stones. With these, he became immensely rich. Through selfless work, love of God grows in the heart. Then, through His grace, one realizes Him in course of time. God can be seen. One can talk to Him as I am talking to you. In silent wonder, they all sat listening to the Master's words. It seemed to them that the goddess of wisdom herself, seated on Sri Ramakrishna's tongue, was addressing these words not merely to Vidyasagar, but to all humanity for its good. It was nearly 9 o'clock in the evening. The Master was about to leave. Master, to Vidyasagar with a smile, "The words I have spoken are really superfluous. You know all this. You simply aren't conscious of it. There are countless gems in the coffers of Varuna, but he himself isn't aware of them." Vidyasagar with a smile, "You may say as you like." Master smiling, "Oh yes, there are many wealthy people who don't know the names of all their servants and are even unaware of many of the precious things in their house and the houses." All laugh. Everybody was delighted with the Master's conversation. Again addressing Vidyasagar, he said with a smile, Please visit the temple garden sometime. I mean the garden of Rashmani. It's a charming place. Vidyasagar. Oh, of course, I shall go. You have so kindly come here to see me, and shall I not return your visit? Master. Visit me? Oh, never think of such a thing. Vidyasagar. Why, sir? Why do you say that? May I ask you to explain? Master, smiling. You see, we are like small fishing boats. All smile. We can ply in small canals and shallow waters and also in big rivers. But you are a ship. You may run aground on the way. All laugh. I think there's an intuition here that he knows Vidyasagar will never come. You know? So Vidyasagar remained silent. Sri Ramakrishna said with a laugh, but even a ship can go there at this season. Vidyasagar smiling, yes, this is the monsoon season. All laugh. M said to himself, this is indeed the monsoon season of newly awakened love. At such times, one does not care for prestige or formalities. It's very interesting. Sri Ramakrishna hinted to him that you should go and visit the Kali temple. So Vidyasagar going to visit the Kali temple, that's understandable. But he said, oh, I'll go and visit you. The master knew that it probably won't happen, because afterwards Vidyasagar starts thinking about, maybe his prestige, and after all, who is Sri Ramakrishna? He's just the priest of a temple. So should I go and meet him? Maybe something like that. Because Sri Ramakrishna, when Vidyasagar said, I'll surely come, Sri Ramakrishna seems to have some doubts whether he was going to come in this conversation. Sri Ramakrishna then took leave of Vidyasagar, who with his friends escorted the master to the main gate, leading the way with a lighted candle in his hand. Before leaving the room, the master prayed for the family's welfare, going into an ecstatic mood as he did so. As soon as the master and the devotees reached the gate, they saw an unexpected sight and stood still. In front of them was a bearded gentleman of fair complexion, aged about 36. He wore his clothes like a Bengali, but on his head was a white turban tied after the fashion of the Sikhs. No sooner did he see the master than he fell prostrate before him, turban and all. When he stood up, the master said, "Who is this? Balaram. Why so late in the evening?" Balaram, "I have been waiting here a long time, sir." Master, "Why didn't you come in?" Balaram, "All were listening to you. I didn't like to disturb you." The master got into the carriage with his companions. Vidyasagar to M softly, "Shall I pay the carriage hire?" M, "Oh, don't bother, please. It has been taken care of. It is taken care of." Vidyasagar and his friends bowed to Sri Ramakrishna, and the carriage started for Dakshineshwar. But the little group, with the Venerable Vidyasagar at their head, holding the lighted candle, stood at the gate and gazed after the master until he was out of sight. Beautiful chapter, really. And even just as history, this is at the sort of the formation of modern India. Sri Ramakrishna, and through him, Vivekananda, and all that we see in Hinduism and Vedanta all over the world. Vidyasagar and all the reforms in education, for what his fights for women's rights, all of that, at the culmination of the Bengal Renaissance, the effects were felt throughout India. And what we see in modern India is sort of culmination of all of this. So it's a beautiful chapter, really. Prabir Basu says, Sri Ramakrishna told a similar story of a milk woman and her guru. Yes. The little, the milk woman, yes, about crossing the river. The guru didn't believe that. Raphael says, God can be seen. One can talk with him as I'm talking to you. When it comes to God with form and without form, I can understand, if I understand this correctly, it's not that God with form is untrue, but not the ultimate truth. So worshipping a God with form isn't incorrect. Would it be like saying just because we know a movie isn't true doesn't mean we cannot enjoy watching it? Or am I off somewhere? No, God with form and without form is still the God of religion. In Vedantic terms, Saguna Brahman. Saguna Brahman is that same ultimate reality, Satchidananda plus Maya. Now, Saguna Brahman plus Maya, it can be with form or without form. So Saguna Brahman can be Sakara and Nirakara. remember at that time, the whole debate was between the Hindu reformers, the Orthodox Hindus, and the Christian missionaries, the Muslims, the Sikhs were also there. The question is, does God have form or not? Or not? From an Advaitic perspective, all of them are discussing Saguna Brahman. Let me repeat that again. Whether it is the Vaishnavas or the Shaktas or the Christians or the Muslims or the Brahmos or the Sikhs, they are all discussing Saguna Brahman, God, God, capital G, creator, preserver, destroyer of the universe. That's what they're discussing. That God has form or without form, because the absolute, the Nirguna Brahman, Satchidananda, it's not even a concept which the theistic religions basically understand. It's not central to their idea. So from the perspective of Nirguna Brahman, from the perspective of the Advaitic absolute, which you are actually, you and I, you are that reality. From that perspective, all this is a lower truth. But when you set Advaita Vedanta aside and just look at these theistic religions, there the claim is that if you worship God with form, it is false, or it is lower, God is actually without form. That idea Sri Ramakrishna contradicts. He says that, and also Hinduism in general. If you're worshipping God, the same God can be with form and without form. And when you say it's without form, then it can assume multiple forms. So I had this argument with a monk of the ISKCON. They always insist God with form. And absolutely no question of I am Brahman. That is sacrilegious. They'll be horrified. They'll close their ears if you say that. So I said, see, water, whatever form you put water in a bowl, it looks like a bowl. You put water in a glass, it looks like a glass. And whatever form you container the water, you put it in, the water takes that form. Then he said, aha, yes, but it always has a form. It always has a form. Depending on whatever container you put, it has a form. Correct. He's right. So whenever you experience water, it has a form. What will be the Advaitic answer to this? The Advaitic answer to this is, whatever you experience must have a form. Otherwise, it cannot be an object of experience. But in itself, from its own perspective, water has none of those forms are water's forms. Because water in itself is formless. Similarly, Satchidananda in itself is without attributes, including without forms. Only because water is without forms from its own perspective, from itself, that is why it can assume the form of any container. If it had a form of its own, then it would contradict all other forms. So if God is only Krishna and only Krishna, then God cannot be in the form of Kali or Shiva or anything. But nobody says that. Neither the Vaishnavas, nor the Shaktas, nor the Shaivas. They all say even Kali has multiple forms, and Kali is also formless. Krishna has multiple forms, and Krishna is also formless. So that idea was very clear in all the theistic schools of Hinduism, all the dualistic schools, all the devotional schools. That whatever we are worshipping as God has a form perfectly acceptable, and you can worship in that particular form. But I also know the same form is also formless. From an Advaitic perspective, all of this is Saguna Brahman, God with that is God. If you go back to Vedanta Sara, those who have attended Vedanta Sara classes, precise definition is there. Samashti Ajnana Upahita Chaitanya. That means consciousness associated with Maya. What is consciousness in itself? There is no question of any form at all. So it is beyond form, but not only beyond form, beyond attributes. So isn't that what they were talking about when they're talking about God without form? No. When the Brahmos, when the Christians, when the Muslims and Sikhs, they talk about God without form, they talk about God without form, but with qualities. God without form, but with qualities. God without form, with qualities, who is the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe. That is the very definition of Saguna Brahman. So we have got three levels here. One is with form. Which form? Many, many forms. How is that possible? How can the same God have many, many forms? Because in itself, God is without form. So both are the same truth. Higher than both of that is the Brahman of Advaita Vedanta. So Raphael's answer to Raphael's question is, from an Advaitic perspective, yes, with form, without form, the God, world, and individual are all vyavaharika, transactional. Ultimate reality only Brahman. But there's distinction between higher truth and lower truth. Ultimate reality and relative reality. Paramarthika and vyavaharika. This is an Advaitic way of looking at it. None of the dualistic schools ever do that. They don't talk about two levels of truth. Only one truth. Kalpana says, if an image of God comes suddenly when one is not thinking about that God or anything related, is it by God's will? You can say that, or it's often our own conditioning also, Many thoughts pop up in our mind when we are not thinking about it. We think we are not consciously thinking, but a lot of processing is going on at our subconscious level. Similarly, if you are devoted and you have spent time thinking about God, meditating on God, it may come. And you can call it God's will also. Like it's like a blessing from God. Shri says, is Thakur revealing himself to Vidyasagar when he says one can talk with him as I'm talking to you? Beautifully done. That's a very interesting point. Here, apparently Sri Ramakrishna seems to be saying about his own spiritual experiences. That God can actually be seen, and you can actually, it's living presence, you can talk to God. So mystics in different religions, in different traditions, they all say the same thing, that you can feel the living presence of God, you can even communicate with God. So is Sri Ramakrishna saying this, or as Sri has pointed out, if you look a little deeper, what's going on here? You are talking to Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna says, you can talk to God just as I'm talking to you. In other words, if you look in that level, O Vidyasagar, the one you are talking to is none other than an avatar, is none other than God. In that sense, good interpretation. Vrinda says, in one of your lectures, you said that Sri Ramakrishna told his disciple that mantra and Ishta Devata are nothing but self. Yes. Can you please explain? Aren't these vrittis in mind correct? So, Sri Ramakrishna told Gangadhar, that is Swami Akhandananda, Jejar Atma Jejar Ishta Shetar Atma. Whoever is your Ishta Devata, or whoever's Ishta Devata is the very self of that person. So what is going on here? This whole theistic, devotional, mystic approach. God exists. God can be loved, meditated upon, and you can experience God, feel the presence of God, and the goal of life is to do that. Then the Guru initiates you. God can have many forms, but this is the particular form you shall focus on. You shall hold on to this particular form. And here is the mantra which the Guru initiates you with. And then you repeat the mantra and meditate on Ishta Devata. Fine. So this is the approach. And many of us, we have been initiated in here, those who are gathered here. On the other hand, the whole Vedantic tradition, Upanishads and Shankara's commentaries and Gita and the commentaries of Shankara and Brahma Sutras and all the, Dridrishya Viveka, Aparoksha Anubhuti, and all of that, it seems to be an inquiry into who am I? And finally discovering myself as unlimited existence, consciousness, bliss, and that is freedom. Where is all this Ishta Devata, mantra, God, all of that in this? At the most, one may say, it is a helpful practice. Like the moment you say it's helpful practice, you are demoting it. You're saying that it is at a lower level. Karma yoga purifies the mind. And upasana, this worship, it focuses the mind. By karma yoga, purification of mind. By upasana, concentration of mind. So is that it? Guru has given you mantra and Ishta Devata just for focus of mind. So next thing is I have to go to the Vedanta class. But my Guru didn't tell me that. He said, this is enough. The mantra is enough. Ishta Devata is enough. Sri Ramakrishna says, the two are the same. Apparently, they may seem to be different. One may seem to be a devotional practice. Other one may seem to be jnana, knowledge. One may seem to be about God. The other one may seem to be about the self. One may seem to be about ultimately getting the vision of God. The other one may seem to be realizing I am Brahman. They seem to be different. But he says, That which you worship as Krishna, Shiva, your guru has given you, suppose Ishta Devata is Shiva, your mantra is Om Namah Shivaya, suppose. So this is your Ishta Devata and Ishta Mantra. That is none other than yourself, that Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, the same thing, it's the same thing. Now, if you ask further, like Brinda is asking, how? How are they the same thing? If you visualize the form of God, it's a vritti in the mind. The moment you stop visualizing, it's gone. But consciousness is not gone. Consciousness is always there. Whether you visualize, not visualize, you cannot visualize it anyway. And whether you study Vedanta, you don't know the first thing about Vedanta, you are that awareness anyway, unconditionally, choicelessly, always there. How are they the same thing? How is Ishta Devata and consciousness the same thing? So this is a very deep subject. Let me just give you the hint here. Nothing in this universe is different from that consciousness. If you keep the consciousness apart from the universe, you have got dualism, Sankhya, Purusha and Prakriti. That's separate. But in Advaita Vedanta, everything that is Prakriti, all the physical universe, the subtle universe, all of that, Sthula, Shukshma, the causal universe, Karana, Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, all of that is nothing other than consciousness which you are, or nothing other than existence which you are. That Brahman, that Atman. Now, one may say that, oh, in that way, Atma is Brahma, your Ishta Devata is your Atma, Ishta Devata is Atma or Brahma. But in that case, everything is Atma and Brahma. What is the point of saying that, whoever is your Ishta Devata, that is Brahman? And whatever is your table or chair, that is also Brahman. So, Vivekananda made fun of it, Pots are Brahman, pans are Brahman. Why are the rishis mad? Pots and pans are Brahman. What nonsense. Now, the problem is this. It is true that anything that you see as an object is actually not an object, is none other than your real self. I mentioned it in the last talk I gave on Purnam. The object appears to you, the consciousness, including your Ishta Devata visualization. It appears to you, the consciousness. Second step, it appears in you, the consciousness. Third step, it is nothing other than you, the consciousness. Not directly said, it's not said it is the consciousness. No, it cannot be. But it is nothing other than consciousness. Still, the question remains, that holds true for everything. Why only Ishta Devata? Chair and table, rocks and trees and leaves and all of that, sky and earth, all of those are also appearances in consciousness and nothing but consciousness. So why are you saying whoever is your Ishta Devata, that itself is your Atma? Why? Because here is the whole technology of Mantra Shastra and this Upasana. All these names and forms which appear to consciousness, in consciousness, and are nothing but consciousness, these products of Maya, they entangle you in Maya. You will be entangled in the name and form and activity and take that to be real, and that's it. Nothing more. And you're caught in samsara. Only a few very select special names and forms they are names and forms, but they will free you from Maya. So all the category of names and forms which entangle, name, form and activity, nama, rupa, vyavahara, which entangle us in Maya, that is called avidya Maya. That power of Maya, which is ignorance. Ignorance means it traps us in samsara, that's all. What is that? What is that power? All this I and mine, my family, so they are all different, others are different from me, my property, my name and family, my sorrow. I want these things in life, only then I will be happy. It never work. But these are things we think. Such is my plan or project for life. Waste of time, actually. So only in the sense it will not give you the fulfillment you are asking from it. So it will all trap us in samsara. But there are names and forms, like Sri Ramakrishna says, all these activities that you are doing, helping others, sympathy for others, unselfishness, simple life, honesty, these are the qualities. Also, they are also name, form and activity, all part of Maya, but they help you out of Maya. They are Vidya Maya. Among these, the highest, most powerful are two: the form of God, and even more powerful, the name of God. So there's a whole science called Mantra Shastra. So Advaita Vedanta sort of skips the whole thing. It takes one thing, the most powerful one, Om, Mandukya Upanishad. But other than that, there is a whole intricate Mantra Shastra which is part of the Tantras. In Kashmiri Shaivism also. That's part of what is called Shakta Upaya, the method of the spiritual practice based on the power of the Divine Mother. That is expressed in the mantras. Basic, what is the basic principle of Mantra Shastra? The same language, the same letters and language which form the trap of Maya, which forms the network of Maya in which we are trapped when we use language in the world. It just entangles us in Maya. But the same language, if properly used, there are words of power, mystical words, which you properly used, they can free you from this very net. That freeing power is also the power of Maya. That entangling power is the power of Maya. The freeing power is also the power of Maya, the power of Divine Mother. So this is how this name and form, it is nothing other than you, the consciousness, but it has a special property that it will not trap you in Maya. It will take you to your real nature, which is pure consciousness. So this is a long way of answering what you asked. Sri Ramakrishna just puts it simply. Yes, everything is appearing in consciousness, not different from consciousness, but these appearances, name of God, form of God, are special. And they are directly your consciousness, because though everything else is consciousness, everywhere the doors are closed. Here the door is open. Vidya Maya, Avidya Maya. A very ancient idea. It is there in Sankhya also. Sankhya makes a clear distinction. They don't even talk about God. It makes a clear distinction between Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is entangled in Prakriti. And Prakriti does two things for Purusha. Prakriti means nature, Purusha means consciousness. So each of us, Purusha does not mean man, and Prakriti not woman. All of us, all sentient beings here, all living beings here, we are all Purusha. Purusha in the sense of consciousness. But we are also Prakriti. Our bodies are Prakriti, our minds are Prakriti, our individual existence is Prakriti, and everything that surrounds us is Prakriti. Now, Prakriti does two things for you. One is Prakriti gives you Bhoga. The second one, Prakriti gives you apavarga. These are very ancient words, older than moksha, older than nirvana. Apavarga, Bhoga and apavarga. Bhoga means experience. It can be of two types, Sukha Dukkha, pleasure, pain, mixed. That is Bhoga. You experience universe. This is called Bhoga. So, okay, not okay. It might take thousands of lifetimes. Bhoga takes thousands of lifetimes. At one point, you, the Purusha, you will feel, I want, it's enough of repeating the same cycle of birth and suffering and death and again and again and again. I want limitlessness. I want freedom. I want infinity. Same Prakriti, who has been doing this so long, she now gives you apavarga. Will introduce you to Sankhya and Yoga and Vedanta and all that. And then you begin to realize your true nature and you are freed. But that was all done by Prakriti. Later on in the tantric paradigm, it is the Divine Mother, Mahamaya, who gives you samsara and freedom from samsara. But you see the same idea, the Sankhyan idea, ancient Sankhyan ideas. Same you see. What was Prakriti earlier is now said to be the power of or the function of Maya or Mahamaya. A little distinction between Maya and Mahamaya. Maya is power, and it can be used in a sense of, also in a negative sense, that you're trapped in Maya. Maya is creating all this problem. But Mahamaya is God, none other than God. Mahamaya means consciousness plus Maya. So Sri Ramakrishna would again and again say, what you call Brahman, I call Kali. So Kali is not just power. Kali is God, consciousness plus Maya. That is Mahamaya. Vishwanathan says, Bhagavan Ramana worshipped Arunachala hill as his guru, mother and father, despite teaching people to find their own self. It is the same thing. It's the same thing. After realizing Brahman, the enlightened ones, they display extraordinary bhakti, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there are people who worship me. Fourfold devotees are there. Some worship me because they are in trouble. Some worship me because they need something in this world. They have desire. Some worship me because they want to realize God. and they come to Vedanta class and all that. But there's a fourth category, the enlightened one, Jnanicha. So the enlightened one worships me. In the next verse, Krishna says, it is the enlightened one who truly worships me, who truly loves me, and I truly love him. I am never lost to the enlightened one, and he's never lost to me. What a beautiful way of phrasing it. That means the enlightened one effortlessly sees God everywhere. And the enlightened one is ever one with God. In that sense, he's saying he's never lost to me. Others are making an effort. Some believe, some don't believe, some have advanced a lot through spiritual practices. But for the enlightened one, I am real. So the bhakti of the enlightened one is the real bhakti. Srinivas Raju says, God or Saguna Brahman appears to us, the ignorant jivas with form and attributes. He knows himself as Nirguna Brahman, the self, and does not identify himself with form and attribute being Mayadhisha. Hence, he is not different from ourselves. Yes, perfectly true. Saguna Brahman, God, is not an other. See, this is the thing. In dualistic religions, we think that I am separate, God is separate. And we worship. No harm there, but still God remains as a separate thing. And then many problems come that then God becomes an object of belief, of faith. See, you never doubt your own existence, but something else you always doubt, whether it's there or not, especially something like God, which some people say God exists, some people say God doesn't exist, and it has to be a matter of faith. But that God, which is our own self, which is in Advaita Vedanta, that God alone is the Saguna Brahman. And Saguna Brahman is always enlightened, is in the sense that knows my real nature is Nirguna Brahman. And they are all one with me. All beings are one with me. Pranav says, is Mantra Shastra teaching the idea of Shabda Brahman or of Maharshi Bhartrihari? A big question. I'll drop it now because Bhartrihari's whole philosophy, Spotavada, something that was refuted by Shankaracharya, Shabda Brahman, he says. Ultimate, he says, language itself is the ultimate reality, not the language we know. Language has 4 levels, and the Vaikhari, then the Madhyama, and the, what is the higher than that? Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. So Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. So what we are talking, what you are hearing now is called the Vaikhari speech. Bhartrihari was this ancient philosopher of language in India. So he wrote this book. He wrote this book called Vakyapadiya. Now, even now, people are writing PhDs on it, on that Vakyapadiya, and much before Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya does not accept this philosophy, so it sort of disappeared. It became, it was marginalized. But it's a wonderful, very powerful philosophy. His philosophy is, the language which we are using now is Vaikhari. It's physically expressed through sounds. But before we speak, what is there in our minds, that is called the Madhyama. Before we have already articulated, before we have spoken, it remains a thought in the mind. Before it becomes a thought, it remains as a potential called Pashyanti, like a seed about to burst forth. The seed remains in seed form. You can't see the leaves, branches, roots, fruits and leaves, nothing you can see. Only when it sprouts, you begin to see that. The sprouting is called the Madhyama. But before it sprouts, it's called Pashyanti. It's a seed form. But whatever you're going to speak, that's already there. All the ideas are already there in the seed. Just like a mango tree seed is different from an apple tree seed, and because the genetic material, the information contained is different, though the seeds may look alike. A mango seed looks very different, but the seeds are, you don't see any distinction of leaves, fruits, flowers there, but it's all there, packed in there. So seed form of any thought, any idea is the Pashyanti. Beyond that is Paravak, the supreme speech. What is the supreme speech? Consciousness. So you come to what Advaita Vedanta says. That consciousness alone appears as the seed, which is Pashyanti. In Advaita Vedanta, that is Maya actually. And that is expressed as thoughts, Madhyama. That becomes in Advaita Vedanta, Sukshma Prapancha. And then that is expressed as speech, physical speech, talk. In Advaita Vedanta, that becomes the Sthula Prapancha, physical universe. Now you can see Nirguna Brahman, Satchidananda. Here Bhartrihari says Paravak. Then Nirguna Brahman now becomes Saguna Brahman with Maya. Bhartrihari will say the Pashyanti. Then the Saguna Brahman expresses as the Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic mind with the entire subtle bodies and everything, the subtle universe. Sukshma Tanmatra. And here it becomes the Madhyama, the thoughts in the mind. The thoughts are distinct from each other. And then finally, physical universe appears, stars and planets, matter, energy. And here in this case, what happens? Physical speech is spoken, sound. I'll end with a nice story before. Yes, I'll look at the comments, but I'll end with the story also. The story is, so this was one of the great debates between the Buddhists and the Hindu philosophers. You know, they had a nearly 1,000-year rivalry. The Hindus wanted to establish there is Atman, the self, and there is God, Paramatma. And the Buddhists challenged both, that there is no eternal reality called Atman. There is no God, creator, God of the universe. So 1,000-year debate. More than that, actually. So towards the end of that came, just before Shankaracharya, came Kumarila Bhatta. So Kumarila Bhatta, who was a great Purva Mimamsa, a great Vedic scholar, and Shankara had to refute his theories to establish the Upanishad. But Kumarila Bhatta did a lot of the hard work of refuting the Buddhists. So here is the story. And it is just a story, but it's interesting in the context of what we just discussed, the 4 levels of speech. So the story is there's going to be a great debate. And after the debate, they could not decide who won the debate, Kumarila Bhatta or the Buddhist master, the Buddhist monk. So the king, who was little partial to the Buddhist, he said, I will put a challenge. Anybody who can solve the puzzle, that person has won. So what is the puzzle? A basket was bought. And in that basket, what is there with your meditation, your power of meditation? You have to tell me what is there in the basket. And the king had put a snake, poisonous snake in the basket. So the Buddhist monk meditated and he said, there's a poisonous snake in the basket. Now, Kumarila Bhatta thought, if I also say there's a poisonous snake in the basket, he could also see that there's a poisonous snake in the basket. Then the king will think I'm just copying the Buddhist monk, and he's partial to the Buddhist, so he will say the Buddhist has won the debate or something. I'm just copying. So he said, there's a flower garland in the basket. The king grinned and he said, all right, we will decorate your neck with that flower garland. And so he wanted to put that venomous snake on the neck of Kumarila Bhatta. So when they lifted the basket, opened it, they saw there was a beautiful flower garland. Everybody was stunned. Even the king was stunned. Even the Buddhist monk thought, but I saw it with my mystical power. I saw that it was a snake. How did this happen? Then Kumarila Bhatta explained. He said that, see, this is a very beautiful theory of language and reality, the physical reality and language. He says, at our level, words and objects are different. So when I say garland, it's a word, in Sanskrit word, pushpamala. And the object garland is different. They're 2 different things. Snake, sarpa, and the object poisonous snake, they're 2 different things. And that's why it's possible to have different words for the same object. So you can have, same thing, you can call it a pustaka, book. In English, you can call book. In Bengali, you can say boi. In Hindi, you can say kitab, and so on. So you're using different words because that's possible because multiple words can express the same object because the object and word are different. One refers to the other, but they're not the same thing. And one is sound produced in a language. The other one is a physical entity. But he said there is a deeper level. Before we speak, in our own minds, when I say the word flower garland and I think of a flower garland, the object and the name, both are thoughts. You see, if I say glasses, glasses is a word, and here is an object. They're different. Glasses, object. But if I think of the glasses and I tell the word in my mind, glasses, without speaking, both become thoughts. And both are in the same place, mind. And he says, if you go further, the idea glass, the idea flower garland, and the word flower garland, they come from the same seed, in the same place. That's called the Pashyanti level. So Vaikhari level, speaking, flower garland, and in the Madhyama level, thought of a garland and thought of the and the word garland, both are thoughts in the mind. They're not different from each other. And then we go further, they're with the same thing before it becomes expressed as two different thoughts. And he says at that point, a yogi can replace one seed with another seed. So I replaced that idea in the cosmic mind of that this is a flower garland and this is a snake, and expressed by the word snake. I just had to use the word flower garland in the cosmic mind, and it changed from snake to flower garland. The word was put in there, manifested in the cosmic mind. The whole universe is a manifestation of whatever is there in Hiranyagarbha's mind. And you open the flower basket, you will see it is flower garland. So I think that's very interesting. You know, maybe we need the password to that network, Hiranyagarbha's network. But whatever the story is, it expresses a very deep philosophy of mind. I mean, just a simple idea that object and name, we think they're so different. Language and objects are different. But the very idea that at the level of thought, they are not different. Both become thoughts. Only in the physical world, they become further apart. And you go back beyond the thoughts, at the samskara level, they become one actually, fused. And beyond that, the whole thing is revealed by consciousness and given existence by consciousness. So Bhartrihari. But in between, there's one more idea which he gave called Sphota, which I'm not going into. Then Shashank says, Sri Ramakrishna gave the example of the attitude of monkey and cat. For monkey holds on to the mother and can fall, but the cat is completely dependent on the mother, cannot slip. What did he mean by the cat example? Yes, so dependence on God. Remember, the kitten, which is taken by the mother cat, Sri Ramakrishna also tells in that example, the kitten is happy where the mother leaves it. Sometimes on a soft bed, sometimes in the oven, the ashes, where the ashes are warm to keep the kitten warm. Sometimes in the bushes or in the heap of rubbish or whatever it is. And he even goes further. If the kitten is unhappy with where the mother has left it, the kitten says mew mew. It complains with a mewling sound, but it can't do anything itself because it depends entirely on the mother. So the mother will, if the mother feels I have to put the kitten elsewhere, then she will come and pick up the kitten carefully on the scruff of the neck and put it elsewhere. But the kitten depends on the monkey, will scamper around, and the monkey has the danger of falling. I saw this myself many years ago, about 16 years ago, in the mountains above Mayavati. So there was a place I said I will go and meditate, and they told me to go in the hills. And then the Swamis in the ashram said, watch out for bears. They scared me nicely. So I went up there. Now there is a particular, like in the middle of that, there's a particular clearing where monks go to meditate. It's like a cage, and you go and sit inside the cage and you lock the door. So the wildlife is outside and the human beings are in the cage for a change. And if you go there, you'll realize why it's important to lock the door, because otherwise you'll have no peace of mind. What is coming and opening the door when you're inside? So I locked the door and sat down. But it's amazing to watch. So there's a bunch of monkeys with little monkeys and all. So they all ran across the clearing. There's a clearing, and then climbed up a tree, and they were being chased by a wolf, or a wolf like a mountain dog or a wolf, something huge dog. It came running after them, and the monkeys were teasing it. But because the wolf was snarling and below the tree, I think one of the baby monkeys got scared and it left its hold on the mother. So it tumbled down. And in front of me, I saw the wolf tear it apart. So you see, that will not happen if, say, to the kitten, because the mother is holding on to the kitten. But if I am holding on to God, it's my choice. Sometimes I hold on to God, sometimes I don't hold on to God. And then the wolves of suffering are always there, pain and suffering there. Okay, that's a gruesome story. Is it a mental attitude or something deeper? You mentioned that even faith in the mind, even faith is in the mind and therefore can come and go and requires effort. Yes. If God is separate from you, if God is an other, then this problem comes. Faith in the mind can come and go, increase and decrease. If you consistently surrender to God, and you accept, and you're allowed to complain. You're allowed to say mew mew to the mother, that if you don't like your situation, you can tell your mother, why not? Jyoti says, when we have to have faith in God, then where do we put faith? In God, in whichever form, in whichever tradition, whatever you think of as God, Krishna, in Kali, in Shiva, in Durga, in Jesus, in Rama, Ramakrishna, in whichever form you feel. Okay, let's wrap it up. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.